Minasan konnichiwa and welcome to Shogo's podcast. So today I would like to talk a little bit more about how Japan is cold-hearted. If you guys watch my video on my main channel, I recently made a video explaining about why Japan is the most cold-hearted people in the world and the most unwilling to help others in the world. I introduced a study from the World Giving Index, and Japan ranked lowest in that ranking, 144th, and it was actually at rock bottom, the ranking was. So the previous podcast I talked a little bit about the fundamental problem in Japan and what's all the issues, social issues that's causing. But in the comments today, I guess I'd like to react to some of the comments. A lot of people told me, Shogo, that's not true. Japanese people are not that cold-hearted. I mean, there were a lot of people actually helping us out, and when we were lost in Japan, when we were traveling, there was a couple that helped us out, or, I was able to make friends at a restaurant or something like that, And in that video, I again did explain that how people in Japan, amongst Japanese people, and how some Japanese people would, interact, communicate with people overseas is completely different. And that's because a lot of Japanese people, again, Japanese collectivism is a little bit unique. I really don't like using the word unique because it sounds like it's a good thing, but it's a little bit, if they say it in a negative way, it's weird. And that's because although Japanese people always cherish the group and always is really caring about not to stand out, and things like this, but in the end, in each person, they all are individualists. I actually mentioned about a study that I introduced in the Bushido Will Ruin Japan video. I talked about that about 50% of Japanese people answered that Japan is a collectivist society, but me, no, I'm an individualist. Does that make sense? But in the end, everyone is acting as a collectivist person, right? But more than 50% of Japanese claim that everyone else are collectivists, but not me, right? So that's the difference between Japanese people interacting with Japanese people and Japanese people interacting with people from overseas. When a Japanese person believes that, oh, this person must be from an individualistic society, there's a lot of Japanese people who can be much more open-minded and much more free, to be able to be friendly with other people, to be connected with other people, communicate. And that's the reason why a lot of people in my generations feel very relaxed and happy when they meet someone from overseas. Now, so when I actually do feel that Japanese people are very cold-hearted to each other, because a lot of people said that we can't imagine that, Japanese people have simply been so kind to us. I thought I can actually introduce to you some episodes, I guess, in my real life, and there was a very horrible incident that I saw on the internet recently, so I'd like to introduce that to you. So the part in my daily life that I always feel the Japanese people are very, very cold-hearted is the priority seats on trains and buses. In Japanese trains, maybe in trains and buses in your country too, but there are seats called the priority seats, which is seats for the elderly or people who have injuries, people who are pregnant, women who are pregnant, mothers with small children, so they can sit down. Basically, in every car in Japanese trains actually have this, so everyone can sit down. But it's very sad that in reality, though, if you actually go nearby these seats, you would find just simply young couples or probably businessmen in their 30s or 40s, sitting on these priority seats and sleeping while they have pregnant mothers standing in front of them, willing to sit there. And I would say, because, I had Harumi getting pregnant twice, and us right now, we have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and we ride trains quite often. And we many times have experienced this, us, and also seeing it before too, Harume with a big belly, willing to, sit down on a train because we'll be riding for, more than 15 minutes or something. We go to the priority seats. There are young boys in school uniforms, for example, 4 boys sitting and dominating these priority seats while, using their phones, laughing in a loud voice and stuff like that. And Harume is standing next to them, and they just don't do anything. That is like the saddest thing that can ever happen, I think, in a society. I personally, as a man who grew up in the US and also have lived in China, Beijing for 1 year, been to Canada, also some parts of Europe like Germany and Austria before, I hope that such a thing only happens in Japan. Because a lot of people think that Japan and China are basically the same, I know it's hard for many people to distinguish between us Asians, but in China, though, when I was in Beijing, there are some priority seats too in some buses and trains. And I was very, very touched and surprised and very happy to see that the moment an old woman would ride the trains, the people on almost literally everyone, like 70-80% of the people would immediately stand up and be like, please use my seat, please you take this seat, man, kind of thing. And they really care about others. And maybe I was lucky to see just a very good situation. Maybe it's not that all in all cases, but compared to Japan, I can absolutely say, very strongly say, that Japan is much, 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 much more cold-hearted in that case. A lot of people really don't care too much about that. And for me, from my values, I guess, for my philosophies of life, that's principles of life, that's like something that can never happen. You sitting on a seat which is called a priority seat, which is specifically meant for people who are in the need of those seats. You're healthy, you are young, and you have a person who needs those seats right in front of you, and you can still act as if you're sleeping, or you can still do your makeup, or you can still be, playing application games on your phone and laughing with your friends while you have these people standing in front of you. I just simply can't understand how that's possible, how you can do that, And I'd like to introduce one more specific incident that really, really, really shocked me. I couldn't believe that this happened in Japan. It was so shocking for me. But it was actually, I forgot specifically, but I think it was about a month or 2 months back. There was a very, very, I don't know what the right word to express this person, but he was basically laying down on a train on the seats, laying down literally like sideways, laying down, and he was smoking inside the train. So obviously that's I think that's against the laws, isn't it? Yeah. Anyways, he was lying down on the seats sideways and he was smoking inside the car of a train. Now that is like something a Japanese person, or a lot of people probably outside of Japan too, will never encounter in their whole lives, right? But anyways, there was this very, very weird man who got arrested, by the way. And then there was also a high school boy who went to go and caution him, basically tell him that you should not be doing that. Yeah, and please, sit up and, distinguish. Wait, that's not the right word. Extinguish, yes, your cigarette, basically, and turn that off, But what happened after that is this man got very angry. He got pissed at this high school boy. I think this man was in his 40s, maybe even older, around there, if you can imagine that kind of age range. He started punching and kicking this boy. And he forced him to do dogeza. Do you guys know what dogeza is? Basically, you're like, you sit down on the ground and you put your forehead on the ground, basically. It's like the Japanese way of apologizing, the deepest apology that exists in Japan, it's called dogeza. So this man who got, what should I say? It was pointed out that he shouldn't be smoking and sleeping in the train. he got angry and he got pissed for saying such a thing to him, and he started punching and kicking this young boy. And even after they got to the next station, he forced this boy to go off at the next station. And even at that station, while the boy was still on the ground, kneeling down with his forehead on the ground, this man still continued to abuse him, punch him, kick him. And in the end, this boy, I think he broke his bone, all parts of his bones. He even actually broke his cheekbone, the bones of his face. Yep. And he obviously had to go to the hospital and be hospitalized. Now, this incident, obviously this man got arrested afterwards, but this incident is already really shocking and scary, isn't it? The worst part is, what was everyone else doing? These two obviously were not the only people on the train, nor were there the only people at the station where they got off, right? What the heck was other people doing? And what really shocked me was that this boy who went up to this man to tell him, with courage, with bravery, he actually was riding the train with his other friends. And there must have been some adults on the same car, you know. There is an emergency button inside every car of the train. If you go off at the station, there must be some people nearby. Why couldn't you just immediately call the police, right? Or if there were, for example, 2 or 3 adults that can go and help him, you can stop one man, right? And I just couldn't believe that everyone just stood there and did nothing while this boy got completely, getting punched and kicked and being applied so much severe violence, and no one did anything. The incident itself was shocking, but what shocked me even more was the fact that no one went to help him out. Now, I do want to make one thing clear, is that if I were that young boy who went up to that man, I would not have done that, first of all. What should I say? Justice, I guess, for him, he thought that was the right thing to do to stop that man from doing such a thing, smoking inside a train. But also at the same time, your safety is first. Yeah. So if I was that boy, or if that boy was my son, because I have daughters now, I seriously think about these things. But if I was the father of that boy, if he was my son, I would tell him to not do that at all. That is not a very good idea. You should have gone to an adult and asked for help and not go yourself. Yeah. So that obviously is not a good move, to be honest. But still, I was like, come on, please. I mean, I don't want to call such a country my home country. It's just so embarrassing. This is so sad. And it's like the worst thing I've ever heard of before in my whole life, and I just couldn't believe it. It was just really, really devastating. The day that I heard about this news, I was very shocked, and I couldn't do a lot of things. I was just, I was like, wow, I can't believe that Japan has come to this level, Yeah, it was very, very shocking, So everyone, it'd be great if you can let me know about what you thought listening to my stories about the incident, also about Japan being cold-hearted. If you can let me know about your comments, if for you Japan was a good experience. If not, please let me know. If you haven't been to Japan before, please let me know about your opinions about the incident that I just introduced. So then everyone, as I always say, the ultimate goal of my life is to make all Japan lovers' dreams come true. So I know that there are a lot of people outside of Japan who are studying Japanese or willing to come to Japan to travel and study and work, and also train our traditional culture and stuff. But also at the same time, I'm a little bit afraid that Japan will not be able to make everyone's dreams come true in the future, because, as I've been explaining, we are facing a lot of social problems. There's so many glitches in our society, and we are losing traditional culture. Also, the younger generations, as we explained today, are dying because of all the social issues. So I really want to dedicate my life to try to make Japan a better place. I want to try to to solve social problems. I want to help preserve and evolve traditional culture, and I want to also help out the younger generation so they can have a brighter future. And to do that, my first step is to achieve 1 million subscribers by January 2023, and all your likes and comments in my main channel's videos will help to boost them to more viewers, so it'd be great if you can help me out. And we already have our plans for a second and third step after achieving this first step goal, so I hope you can look forward to that. And I really always appreciate your support, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast too, and I'll be waiting for your comments.